is senior advocate Sanjay Hegde. He is also the CPIM's counsel in the demonetization case which is being heard in the Supreme Court. And also with us is Bishwajit Bhattacharyya, the former Additional Solicitor General of India. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us. Mr. Bhattacharyya, if I can start by asking you, what do you make of IDS 2? We've had this conversation in the past. Now that the government has amended the income tax laws, what do you make of IDS 2? And do you believe that the informal target that Sapna was just alluding to is going to be easily met?
Shirin, I think the target is likely to be met because initially the government was hoping that out of 15,44,000 crores of cancelled currency notes of 500 and 1,000, approximately 2 to 3 lakh crores will not come back. But as things stand now, I think the entire amount will come back. So therefore, government or rather Reserve Bank of India will not gain anything on that score. So the profit of Reserve Bank of India, liability would have, now this 2 to 3 lakh crores of black money has now come back into the banking system. So the government of India is hoping that the depositors will suo motu disclose, and it makes sense. It makes sense. Those who have already deposited black money or those who are still holding some cash, they will avail of this scheme. In fact, this is a good scheme. And instead of, Parliament taking it up on 28th of November and the Honorable the Rashtrapati ji assenting it now, it should have been taken on 8th of November itself. Then the entire black money demonetization scheme would have been a thumping success. In fact, I welcome the scheme because after all, the ultimate objective is that if you get 50% goes to the coffers of the exchequer and banks also enjoy 25% of the funds free of cost for 4 years, then this will bolster the revenue of the government, this will bolster some of the balance sheet of the bank, and this scheme will now work because time has been extended up to 31st of March. So I am sanguine based on the statement made by Mr. Hasmukh Adhia, the sort of Revenue Secretary, that they are not going to go after the depositors. I think depositors will now be constrained and forced to disclose, not voluntarily, they'll be virtually coerced to disclose. And I think if you are holding black money, you should be coerced to disclose.
Okay, so
I personally
feel,
feel
it will be a success. You believe that it will be a success. I'll come back to you, Mr. Bhattacharyya, in just a second, but let me bring in, better late than never. Let me bring in Sanjay Hegde as well. Mr. Hegde, the former Solicitor General there saying, Additional Solicitor General saying that he believes this will be a thumping success. He believes it ought to have been rolled out along with the notification on the 8th of November, and perhaps we wouldn't have had to go through the kind of confusion that we've seen since then on the demonetization scheme itself. But he believes that this will bolster at least the government's economic argument.
Well, that is obvious, isn't it? If people are willing to be taxed at 50% and also sequester about a quarter of their money for no interest, the government revenues obviously gain. That part of it is a no-brainer. The question really is how much is the black money which is there in individual hands, which can be forced or coerced into these deposits. Most of it having come back into the banking system now, you have to take note of one paradox. What is black money? Black money is untaxed money in the hands of one man. But when it gets spread over many hands, as seems to have been the case now, it may not be taxable. It's a cat and mouse game which is happening between the taxman and the tax-paying citizen. Our direct tax revenue or the percentage of people paying tax in India is barely 3%. Of that 3%, the ones who are really evading are again a minority. How much of that minority has managed to launder most of its currency assets already? That's the open question, and whether they will avail of this window which has been granted. Mr. Bhattacharya may be right about government meeting broad targets, but the question is, could these targets not have been met without demonetization?
Demonetization, that's a fair point. That's a fair point, and I think Mr. Bhattacharya will also agree with you on that. But